Hello everyone, welcome to channel Qtomation. So in previous sessions, we have started with reading data from Excel file. We have seen how to write a data to Excel file. Then we have seen how to create a utility file for Excel operations with various functions in it. And we have also seen why utility file is required whenever there are Excel related operations. So main problems were the code which is required to handle various Excel related operations similar to reading data, writing data, counting number of rows and columns, or giving color to cells. If we write that code into our test cases, then it will increase the complexity of the test cases. Also, if there are multiple test cases which are data driven, and if we write for each and every test cases, then it will be duplication of code. To avoid these two problems, the approach which is required is creating a util file, Excel util file. So we can create a Excel util file which will contain all these functions which are used for various Excel related operations. And from this common util file, we can easily call these functions into our test cases file. So this is the data driven testing approach. So we have created a utility file in our last session. In the last session we have seen how to create a utility file in which we have created various functions to count the rows, to count columns, reading data, writing data, filling green color in any sheet, or filling a red color in the sheet cell. These functions we have added in one of the utility files. So this is our utility file which we have created, which contains all these functions. So now we will see how to use this utility file for one example. I will show you one real-time example where we will perform data-driven testing. So what is data-driven testing is, into the same test case, if you want to validate for multiple data. So I will show you one simple example. Now this is the website to calculate home loan EMI. This is the website, or we can say home loan calculator. Here if you see, we have to enter the home loan amount. Let's say I am entering the home loan amount as 50 lakh. Then we have to enter loan tenure amount, not the amount but the loan tenure in months or year. So for this example I will be putting it as years only. So let's say I am putting 20 years. And then the third input which we have to provide is interest rate. Now let's say I am putting 9% as an interest rate. And after giving these three inputs, that is home loan amount, the tenure of loan, and the interest rate. So if you provide these three input, it calculates the actual EMI here. So as per these three test data input, it gives you the output of EMI amount. Now in such applications, we have to check for different type of combinations of home loan amount, tenure, and interest rate. Home loan can be 60 lakh, loan tenure can be 10 years, interest rate can be 9.5. So in that situation, again this EMI will change. So this is how we have to perform for multiple combination of these parameters. And as per this parameter, we have to check whether the value which we are receiving, it is matching as per our expectation or not. So in that situation, we have to use data-driven testing. So for this, we have to prepare the test data in Excel sheet. In the Excel sheet, what we will do? In Excel sheet, we will prepare some test data with some combinations of these three parameters. That data we will provide it as an input here. Then before that we will also calculate the actual EMI amount, which is the expected one. So if you provide this data, then expected one, this is the expected EMI amount. And when we execute the script, we will compare that amount with our actual amount, and both the values should match. So I will show you how we can prepare the test data. I have already created one file. This is the test data underscore home loan dot xlsx file. So this is the test data file which we have created. And if you see, there are 1, 2, 3, 5 rows. We can give as much amount of data we want. So for example, I am just adding 4 combinations of data. So here we are giving loan amount, tenure in years, interest rate as 9, and for this combination, this should be our expected amount. So this is the actual amount. So we have to prepare the test data accordingly. So if you give this amount here, let's say 50,000, and what is the tenure is 10 years, and what is the interest rate is 9. So if you provide this data here, so we have to first prepare this test data. If you see 63,338. So this amount I have already filled up in our expected EMI amount. So this is the EMI amount. So for this combination, this is the EMI amount. Similarly, for if you enter 70 lakh, I am just putting 70 lakh. What is the tenure we are giving as a test data? 15 years. Here 15 years. And what is the interest rate here? 9.5. So I will just provide 9.5 here. And for that, what is the EMI amount? That is 73,096. If you see, 73,096. Similarly, I have provided for this test data as well. So if the loan amount is 65 lakh, tenure is 30 year, interest rate is 8.8, then EMI amount should be 51,368. So this is all for positive test cases. Means for this combination, this should be the expected amount. So what we will do, we will pass this data. For example, in the first iteration, we will pass loan amount, 10 years, interest rate in this website, and we will see, we will fetch this EMI, the actual EMI which we have received after entering this data here as an input parameter. We will capture this amount and we will compare this amount with our EMI amount. Both should match. If both the values are matching, that means that test case is pass. If both the values are matching, that we will write in our test cases as a validation, then it should be pass. Similarly, for this also we will check EMI amount should be this one, that should match, then it will be pass. If those are matching in the third iteration, then it should pass. And we will also write the result into this column. So if this is pass, we will just write the status as passed in this, along with coloring this sheet cell with green color. We will also perform data write operation here. If that test case is passed, then we will update the result in this result column for each row. So for these 3 rows, that is row number 2, 3 and 4, these are positive test cases. We will pass this data, that is amount, tenure and interest rate, and then we will see what is the actual EMI amount we are receiving on that calculator. We will fetch that value. We will compare that value with our EMI amount. If both the values are matching, that means our test case is pass. We will write then passed as a status in our result column with green color. And last one is basically a negative test case. Last one is basically a negative input test case. So if I provide this input here, let's say I am providing 80 lakh as a home loan amount. Then I will provide tenure as 25. After that, put interest rate as 9.6. So when we are providing these three inputs, if you see what is the EMI amount, 70453. But what we have provided here to compare, 65,000. So when we will compare this value with our sheet value, then they will not match. Both the values will not match. We are intentionally making it so that we can see the failure scenario as well. So this is the negative test case. So in that situation, we should update the result as failed. We should update result as failed along with the red color in this shell. We should update this, or we should write the status as failed here with red color. So that will cover positive as well as our negative test cases, right? So this is how we have to write that. Now we will see how to write the data driven test cases. So in this example, we are going to cover everything basically. So we will first read the data. We will first read the data, these three parameters. In fact, all these parameters we will read and we will store them in variables. We will first store them in variable. Then we will perform. We will launch this website. Then we will provide those variables in which we have stored these parameters as data into these fields, and we will calculate the EMI. Then we will fetch this EMI. We will compare that value with our EMI amount. If both the values matches, then we will perform write operation into this result column along with the filling color as green here, and here it should fill red color because that will fail. It should ideally fail because both the values will not match. Now let's see via automation script how we can perform these test driven test cases. How we can perform data driven test cases in this scenario. So I will go to PyCharm. This is our Excel utils.py file. I am just creating a new Python file in our project. Let's create new Python file. I am naming it as data driven testing demo. So we have created one Python file, that is data driven testing demo. After that, I will just copy some basic code. So I am just copying some basic code in which we are importing Selenium WebDriver. We are also importing service class object. We have created a service class object in which we are passing this browser driver executable path. This is the Chrome driver.exe path. We are passing it in service class object. Then we are creating driver instance in which we have to pass this service class object. And then we are opening this website. If you see, we are just opening this website by using driver.get so that it will launch the web browser and it will open this web page. It will open this calculator. Now after opening this, we are maximizing the window. So up to this, very normal and very easy. After that, what is the next step? We have to use, or we have to first locate our file. Which test data file we are using is, we are going to use this test data file. So I am just copying the path of this file. Let's provide the path here. So this is the path of that test data file. This is the path of test data file. After providing the path, what is the next step we have to do is, from this file we should know how many rows are there. We should first know how many rows are there because we have to perform iterations. So in the first iteration, what data we will pass in our script? We have to open this website and we have to pass home loan amount from the first row. So first we have to pass home loan amount from the first row along with tenure and interest rate. Then we have to pass second row, not the second one. If you see, this is the first row, second row, and this is the third row. So actual test data input which we are going to provide starts from second row. Actual test data input will start from second row. Then third row, fourth row, and fifth row. But before that, how many iterations we have to do? That depends on number of rows. So first we have to calculate, or we have to get number of rows in our sheet. So how to get the number of rows? We have already created a utility file. So we can simply use this excel utils.py file in which we have created get row count function. We have created this function and we can call this function by providing file and sheet name. What is the sheet name here? If you see, sheet 1 is a sheet name. So let's call this function. So to call this function, first we should import that package. We should import that module, excel utils. After importing this module, let's create one variable, rows equal to excel utils. We have to call that function to get row count function. That function we have to call. And to call this function, we have to pass two parameters. First one is file path, and along with the file we have to provide the sheet name as well. So what is the sheet name? Sheet 1. If you see, sheet 1 is the sheet name. So I am just passing this sheet 1 as a sheet name here. So it should return, it will return. So what it will return? If you see, sheet dot maximum row. So it should return the row count, and that will be stored in rows. And now we can use the for loop. Now we can use for loop for r in range function. And from which row we have to fetch the data? If you see, this is the first row. But do we need this data? No, because we are not going to pass this text into that calculator. We will be passing first value as 50 lakh. That is starting from second row. So here we have to start this range function with 2 up to rows, right? But we know that it is always -1. So our rows value are actually 5. So we have to here provide, if you provide only rows, then it will go up to 4 rows only, because it is always -1. So instead of rows, we have to use rows plus 1. So so that it will iterate from second row to fifth row. Now whatever the code we will write, it should be in our for loop only. Now the next step is we have to fetch this data and store them in variables. We have to fetch. Now we are in second row. In the first iteration, what we will do, we will fetch this data, second row, first column. We will fetch this data and store it in one variable, that is loan amount. After that we will again fetch second row, second column data as a tenure. Then we will fetch interest rate from second row, third column, and store it in one variable. And we will also fetch our expected EMI amount, and we will store it in one variable. So how we can do that? So I will just create one variable for, let's say, loan amount equals to how to read the data. Now we want to read the data from this sheet. We want to read the data from this sheet. So again we can use excel util functions, excel utils dot read data, excel utils dot read data. And which parameters we have to pass? If you see, for reading data we need file, sheet name, row number, and column number. So we have to provide file. What is the sheet name? Sheet 1 is a sheet name. What is the row number? We are already using range function, r in range. So r is nothing but our row number, comma. What is the column number? If you see, column number is second row, first column. So loan amount is in first column. So we will simply provide value as 1 for column number. We don't have to get the column data, right? Because we are using very less number of rows and columns. If you see, there are only 5 rows and 6 columns. Ideally it should be always less than 10 columns, so that is fine. So we can use only rows amount. We can iterate via rows and we can store the column data as a numeric value. So this will fetch loan amount. After that we have to fetch tenure in years. We will again use Excel utils dot read data. We have to pass file, sheet name, again sheet 1. What is the row number is R, and column number is, now if you see here, second row, second column. This is the second column now, so we need to pass value of column as 2. That will fetch the tenure in the first iteration from this and store it in that variable. Next is interest rate. So I will just create one more variable, interest rate equals to, again Excel utils dot read data function, in which we have to pass the file, sheet name as sheet 1. What is the row number? R is the row number. And what is the column number again? It's 3. If you see, column number is 3. For interest rate, column number is 3. Now next one is EMI amount. So I will fetch that data as expected EMI equals to Excel utils dot read data. Again in this we have to pass file, sheet name, row number, and column number is 4. So we have now successfully fetched first, second column, third column, fourth column. This is the data we have fetched. What is the next step now? So this is basically fetching of data. If you see, this is fetching data from sheet. After fetching this data and storing them in variables, what is the next step is, we have to interact with application and we have to passing test data to application. So we have to pass this data into our application. So if you see, we are already opening this website here. We are opening this application here. After opening this application, now we have to pass loan amount into this field, tenure amount into this field, interest rate into this field. So we have to inspect this element first. Let's inspect and find out locator for these fields. Also, we have to remember one thing here. Whenever we launch the website, by default there is some data already present in this field. So now after opening this website, I want to pass 50 lakh as value. So first we have to clear this field. So let's identify this field. If you see locator, let's identify. You can see the ID here. So I am just capturing this ID. I am just capturing this ID of this home loan amount input field. Let's go to PyCharm. Let's write driver dot find element by dot ID. We are capturing the ID. So it should locate that input field for loan amount and we have to clear that field. First we have to clear it. So it should clear the default value from that field. After clearing, we have to use send keys method. So after clearing, we have to pass that value. We have to pass by using send keys method. So we can use send keys, and which value we want to pass here? This loan amount. This loan amount we can pass here. So this will pass this loan amount into home loan field. Similarly, after putting the home loan amount, we have to pass tenure. So I will just inspect this tenure field. Again we have some ID here, so I am just copying this ID. Let's write for that steps. So driver dot find element by dot ID comma, this is the value of that tenure field. Again we have to clear this value first, and then we can use send keys method. Send keys method, and in which we have to pass this tenure value. So it will pass that tenure into this. Similarly, now I am just copying this. Now the third value is interest rate. So let's identify the interest rate field as well. I am just inspecting this interest field, interest rate. Again it has some ID here. So I am just copying this ID and pasting that ID in this. It will first clear, and then we have to pass this interest rate here. Okay, so now we have written this in for loop. So up to this what we are doing, so we are opening this website and we are passing the values of home loan, loan tenure and interest rate here. As soon as you provide the interest rate here, it will show you EMI, it will show you the EMI amount. So now we have to capture that as well. So let's identify, this is the EMI, expected EMI, and it is the actual EMI. So expected EMI we have already written in our sheet, that we will compare with actual EMI which is received here. So let's copy the ID. So I am just copying the ID for this. Let's try to copy. We have to fetch this value. So I am just, so this is the ID, and here if you see, this is the amount. If you see, I am just zooming it a bit. So if you see, this is the amount which is shown here. I will just copy this amount. If you see, this is the text amount. Control C. I am just pasting it here. If you see, it has one additional rupees symbol. It has one rupees symbol here. So I am just, first let's fetch this value by using ID. So I am just copying this ID. Let's go back to PyCharm and let's store that value in one variable, that is actual EMI. So this is the actual EMI received on our application. By using driver dot find element by dot ID comma, that ID, and we have to fetch that text value from that locator. So we have to fetch that value, right? If you see here, we have to fetch this value. So for that we have to use .text, dot text. So it should fetch this string. It should fetch this string along with rupees symbol. It should fetch this string along with rupees symbol. And now the next thing which we have to do is add the validation. But before that we have to understand actual value which we have received is in which format, string format, and also it is having one rupees symbol. So if you try to compare that with our expected EMI, that is the one which we have used here, that is again only numeric format. If you see, this is again into, though the type of this is also string, but it is not containing that rupees symbol. So what I will do, I am just minimizing it. So first what we have to do is, we have to, from this actual value which we have received, we have to remove the rupees signs. We have to first remove this symbol, right? We have to remove this symbol. So how to remove it? We can use replace method. So what we will do, replace and strip method. So after replacing this rupees symbol by using, so we can replace this rupees symbol with blank space, and then we can use strip method, and strip method will remove all the white spaces from this string. So what we can do here is we will create one variable, let's say new actual EMI equals to actual EMI dot replace, and what we want to replace, we want to replace this rupees symbol. So I will just copy this rupees symbol. So we want to replace this rupees symbol with blank space. So after replacing, we can also use dot strip, so it will remove the white spaces from starting and ending position of this number. So basically it is in string format, but it will remove all the white spaces. So first it will replace this rupees symbol by white space, and by using strip method we are removing all the white spaces from the starting and ending of this string. So it will only remain numeric format, but still the type of this is also string. Still, though the type of this is string, but it will remove all the white spaces. So it will give only, so after this step it will remove the rupees symbol and all the white spaces. Then we can actually add the validation. So now we can add the validation. So now we can add the test validation, where we will compare, where we are going to compare the value of our expected EMI. This is the expected EMI. We will compare with new actual EMI. So I will just add condition. We are still in for loop. Always remember, we don't have to come out of for loop, right? So we are still in for loop only, because these steps we have to perform for all the rows. That's why we are adding validation here. So we are adding validation still within the for loop. If expected EMI, but now remember this is in string format, so we have to first convert it into integer format. So I am just converting this into integer format, equals to integer of new actual EMI, that is the value after replacing rupees symbol and white spaces. So if expected EMI value, which we are fetching from our test data sheet, if this value matches with new actual EMI value, then that test case is passed. Then we can add here. Then what action we have to do? We have to now, if both the values are matching, then what we have to do? We have to update this result. We have to write past here, right? We have to write the past as a text along with green color filling into this cell. So for that, what we can write, if expected EMI value matches with new actual EMI value, then what we will do? We will write, so how to write? Excel utils dot write data method, and in this, if you see, write data method again need file, sheet name, row number, column number and data. So I will just pass file, sheet 1 as a sheet name, row number is R, and what is the column number? Where is the column number? So here is the column. Column number is first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. So result column is sixth column. So I will just go back to PyCharm. Column number is 6. And then we have to pass the data. So what is the data we have to pass? What data we are going to write? We have to write past. If both the values are matching, then we have to update result as past. And if they are not, but before that we have to also update the color of that cell. So I will just write Excel utils dot which method? Fill green. So this is the method in which we have to pass file, sheet name, row number and column number is 6. So it should fill the green color in that cell. Else if both the values are not matching, that means test case will be failed. Else we can simply write, I'm just copying it, else we have to pass as failed, so it will update as failed here and it will fill red color. So for that we have to call fill red method, and we are passing file, sheet name, row number and column number. So it should fill that cell by red color along with the text as filled. So this is the code, right? So now what we will do, we will execute this code. So when this code will be executed, what will happen? It will launch the website. It will perform the iterations. In the first iteration, it will fetch the data from second row. It will store the amount, loan amount, tenure, interest rate, expected EMI from this sheet by reading the data. It will pass this data into our application. It will pass this data into our application as parameters here. And along with that, as per the result which we will receive in our EMI, it will capture it. It will compare it with our actual EMI. Actual EMI which we will receive here, it will compare that value with our expected EMI. If both the values are matching, then it will update the result as passed in the result column for that row. If it is not matching, then it will update as failed. Right? So let's execute this file. So ideally what should happen now? After executing this file, these three should be filled as passed with the green color, and last one should be marked as failed because we have put intentionally incorrect value here. So actual value which we receive will not match with this. So it should fill as failed with red color. So now I am just closing this file. So let's close this file. Let's close this file and now execute this file. So we are now running this data driven trace cases. So we are executing this code. Let's execute it. So it will launch the web browser. It will open that application, that is calculator of home loan, and it will pass the data here. If you see, it is passing 50,000, 10, then year in the first, now the second iteration, and now the third iteration, and now the fourth iteration. So all the 4 iterations are completed now. We haven't used driver.close, that's why it is not closing the instance, but I am minimizing it. And now let's see our test data file again. So I am just again opening this test data file. And let's see whether if you see that result column is now filled. So that means these 3 cases are passed. In fact, all the 4 cases are passed because last one is negative test case where we are actually expecting the failure. That means we are actually expecting the failure here and it got failed because both the values did not match. So this is the successful test run. So this is how we can perform data driven test cases. So we can add as much of test data here. We can prepare the test data. We can also add months as well. We can add different type of loan amount. We can add multiple type of interest rate. And along with that, we can actually add our expected result here. And then we can perform this data driven testing. So this is the main benefit of data driven testing. So let's revise one more time. What we have done here is we have used Excel util file. So just imagine if you don't have that Excel util file, then how complex this code will become. Then we have to write entire reading and writing, filling the data, getting row count. All those code will come into this test case. It will make it more complex and also it will increase the duplication of code. So this is the main benefit of using data driven testing. by using Excel util file. So thank you for watching this video.